Hi Apes, this is part 3 of the summer assignment screencasts, short on symbiosis and competition. So with symbiosis, you have two species interacting with each other. Mutualism, both benefit. Commensalism, one benefits, the other one's like, meh, I'm not really affected by it. Amensalism, one is harmed and the other one is not affected. Exploitation, one benefits at the expense of other species. Antibiosis, one has a compound that inhibits the other species. Think of it like an antibiotic. It may or may not benefit. Species A may or may not benefit from it. And then competition, both species are harmed from the association. The one that's missing here is parasitism. Okay, that's when one species is harmed and the other one benefits from it. So parasitism, you have here we go. They live in or on a host organism. Host is always harmed, and you have ectoparasites and endoparasites. Ecto are on the outside of the host. Endo is on the inside of the body. Okay, you have things like tapeworms, ringworms, lots of fun worms. Mutualistic relationships is where both of the organisms actually benefit from the interaction. Oxpeckers and zebra and Cape buffalo, what happens is the birds eat the ticks off of the buffalo. The buffalo benefit because now they have the ticks removed. Lichens are an obligate mutualism, meaning that there is no lichen without one or the other. So it's a symbiotic relationship between a green algae and a fungus, and they work very closely together. Then we have commensalistic relationships, and that is when one benefits and the other one's like, meh, I can do with or without. So very famous commensalistic relationship are epiphytes. These are perching plants that you find on tropical trees, and what they do is their roots basically just detach, and they get the excess rain from being on the branches, and the tree is not affected at all by it. Then you have an anemone, shrimp that live inside of an anemone. The anemone is not harmed. It doesn't benefit in any way from the relationship. When we look at amensalism, it's one species has a harmful effect on the other, but it's not affected by the association. It's kind of weird. So I really like this example where grazing mammals trample and destroy vegetation around water holes, and that creates bare zones. So the mammals are unaffected by the loss because they go there to drink and to not actually feed. Then we have our predator-prey relationship. If you remember from biology, the Lotka-Volterra model. So it's two scientists because an Italian mathematician, Volterra, came up with this equation at the same time in the US. Alfred Lotka came up with it. And so they were like, look, I figured this out. And they said, let's get together and we'll name it after both of us. So in a predator-prey ecosystem, you have the spike of one followed by the spike in the other. So what happens is if you have 10 rabbits, okay, their population goes up. There are a lot of rabbits, which means now this hare, okay, the lynx, little type of bobcat, now there's a lot of food, so their population goes up. As their population goes up, they're eating all of these prey, so the prey population starts to drop. And now there aren't a lot of food for this predator, so their population starts to drop. And now that there aren't a lot of predators, the prey population goes up. And then because there's a lot of food, the predator population goes up. So it's this cyclical one following the other. Okay, antibiosis, last but not least, is the inhibition. So chemical inhibition of one party, so it's not harmed and the other one is unaffected or may even benefit. So allelopathy, one plant releases these toxic compounds, inhibits the growth of nearby plants. So black walnuts around here, you won't see any other trees growing around black walnuts because they actually inhibit the growth, because if too many of them grow around each other, what happens is the nutrients might be stolen by something else. Okay? Another example is autotoxicity. So a parent plant produces chemicals and that inhibits the growth of its own seedlings around it, kind of like allelopathy. Competition, you have two species cannot be in competition indefinitely. So intraspecific is within the same species, like intramural sports, and interspecific competition is between two different species. And what happens is they're competing because they are competing for the same resources or same habitat.